The Galactic Council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure that had witnessed 3,000 years of peace. Inside the circular hall, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections. Listening to the humans present their latest proposal, Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim stood at the central podium, his dark suit immaculate, his voice calm and measured as he spoke about cultural exchange programs and educational initiatives. Captain Ji-won Park watched from the observation deck above, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore the crisp white uniform of the Human Diplomatic Corps, though beneath it she carried the weight of 15 years of military service. The other species didn't need to know that. They saw what they wanted to see, a peaceful species. Barely 2 decades in space, eager to make friends and share their art and music, the Velkar ambassador, a large insectoid creature with gleaming black carapace, clicked his mandibles in what Ji-won had learned was their version of laughter. He leaned toward the Rothian delegate, a being made of crystalline structures, and whispered loud enough for the translation devices to pick up. "Look at them, so soft, so weak. And they speak of poetry while we conquered star systems." Gi-won's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Let them think what they wanted. Dr. Mina Choi sat beside her, reviewing data on her tablet, as humanities lead. Xenobiologist, she had spent years studying the other council species, learning their customs, their histories, their strengths and weaknesses. She glanced at Gi-won and saw the tension in her shoulders. "Ignore them," Mina whispered. "We're not here to prove anything." "No," Guan replied quietly. Down in the chamber, Hyun-Woo continued his presentation. Images of human children laughing. With alien students filled the massive holographic display. Music from Earth played softly in the background. The council members seemed bored, some of them checking their own devices, others speaking among themselves. Humanity had become predictable to them, always talking about peace, always avoiding conflict, always trying to please everyone. Lieutenant Daeon Lee approached Ji-won from behind, his footsteps silent on the metal floor. He had been trained in the old military academies on Earth, back when humans still fought each other over borders and resources. Those days were supposed to be over now. Humanity had united, reached for the stars, and found neighbors. Peaceful neighbors mostly. But Daeon remembered his training. He remembered what humans were capable of when pushed. "Captain," he said softly, handing her a datapad. "We have a situation." Kuan took the device, her eyes scanning the information. Her expression didn't change, but Mina noticed how her grip tightened on the pad. "When?" Kuan asked. 18 minutes ago. We just received the automated distress beacon." "What is it?" Mina asked, leaning closer. Gi-won's voice was flat, controlled. "The colony ship Bright Tomorrow has gone silent. 50,000 civilians, 15,000 of them children." Mina felt her blood turn cold. One of the new settlement vessels, carrying families to a colony world on the outer rim? Teachers, farmers, engineers, doctors, people looking for a fresh start on a new planet. People who had never held a weapon in their lives. Down in the chamber, Hyun-Woo finished his speech to polite applause. The council chairman, an elderly being, from the Quellan species, thanked him and moved to the next item on the agenda. Just another day of bureaucracy and diplomatic pleasantries. Gi-won tapped her communicator. "Bridge, this is Captain Park. Prepare to break orbit. I want us ready to move in 10 minutes.
Acknowledged, Captain.
She turned to Daeyoon. "Get me a direct link to Earth Command." "Priority Alpha. Already done, ma'am. They're waiting for you in the secure room." Juan nodded and started walking toward the exit. Mina followed her, abandoning the observation of the council session. Something in Ji-won's tone had changed, something that made Mina's instincts scream danger. Not danger from Ji-won, but danger to whoever had attacked that colony ship. In the secure communications room, Admiral Soo-yoon Bae's face filled the screen. She was an older woman, her hair steel gray, her eyes hard as diamonds. Behind her, Mina could see the bustle of Earth's military command center, a place that officially didn't exist anymore. Humanity didn't have a military, they told the council. Just security forces, just peacekeepers. "Captain Park," Admiral Bae said without preamble. You've seen the reports? Yes, ma'am. What do we know? Not much yet. We're getting telemetry now. The Admiral's face disappeared, replaced by data streams and sensor readings. The ship's automated systems activated their black box protocol. We're receiving live feeds. The screen shifted to show the interior of the bright tomorrow. Emergency lights flashed red. People ran through corridors, carrying children, helping the elderly. And then the hull breached. Atmosphere vented into space. Bodies floated past cameras, frozen and lifeless. Mina turned away, her hand over her mouth, but Jiwan watched. She watched every second. She needed to see. Pirates, Admiral Bay said, her voice cold with fury. The Krell Syndicate. The same bastards the Council gave amnesty to 20 years ago. They're still transmitting, Guan asked. The backup systems are... And Captain, there are survivors. Sealed sections, maybe 30,000 still alive. But the Krell are boarding now. Giwan's hands formed fists at her sides. What are your orders, Admiral? I'm sending you coordinates. Commander Seojin Kwan is being pulled from his diplomatic assignment. He'll meet you at Rally Point Theta with the response teams. The Admiral paused. The Council will want to debate this. They'll want to form committees and send strongly worded messages. Yes, ma'am. We don't have time for that. Admiral Bay's eyes burned with determination. Captain Park, you are authorized to engage. Rules of engagement protocols are suspended. Whatever it takes. Bring our people home. Giwan straightened, her military bearing finally showing through the diplomatic facade. Understood, Admiral? We'll get them back. I know you will. The screen went dark. Mina stared at Jiwan, seeing her friend in a new light. They're going to notice when you leave orbit. Let them, Jiwan replied. Get Ambassador Hainuo. Tell him to request an emergency council session. Show them the footage. Let them debate while we do what needs to be done. As they left the secure room, Mina felt the ship beneath her feet begin to move. The diplomatic vessel Harmony's call was breaking orbit, leaving the council station behind. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Krell Syndicate was about to learn a very important lesson about humanity. They were about to learn what happens when you hunt a predator's family, asterisk. The emergency council session convened within an hour. Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim stood at the central podium again. But this time there was no smile on his face, no gentle words about cultural exchange. The holographic display showed the dying moments of the bright tomorrow, and the chamber that had been filled with casual conversation fell into stunned silence. The footage played on an endless loop, the hull breach. The screaming, the children's faces pressed against windows as air rushed out into the void. And then the Krell ships, their distinctive angular hulls painted with symbols of the Syndicate, moving in like sharks toward wounded prey. This attack occurred 73 minutes ago, Hyun-woo said, his voice steady despite the rage burning in his chest. 50,000 human civilians. We have confirmed casualties in the thousands. Another 30,000 are trapped in sealed sections with limited life support. And the Krell are boarding the vessel now. The Quellan chairman shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Ambassador Kim, this is indeed tragic. But the Krell Syndicate signed peace accords with this council 20 years ago. Perhaps this is a rogue element. We should send a diplomatic. They're executing survivors, Hyunwha interrupted, pressing a button. New footage appeared. Krell warriors in combat armor, dragging human civilians into cargo bays. Families separated. The sound of weapons fire. Does this look like a rogue element to you? The Valkyrie ambassador, who had mocked humans just hours earlier, leaned forward. His mandibles clicked nervously. The council has protocols for such situations. We will dispatch a peacekeeping force. It will take approximately 6 to 8 weeks to assemble the appropriate 6 to 8 weeks. Hyun-woo's control finally cracked. Those people have 48 hours of air left. Maybe less. Then we must act with appropriate speed while maintaining proper procedures, the chairman replied. We cannot simply rush into military action without consensus. That is not how the council operates. Hyun-woo looked around the chamber at the 47 species who had welcomed humanity into their organization. Species who had promised mutual defense. species who had sworn to protect each other. And now they sat in their comfortable seats, debating procedures while humans died. "I see," Hunwu said quietly. "Then humanity will act alone." In orbit around the Council Station, the Harmony's call had undergone a dramatic transformation. Captain Juwon Park stood on the bridge, watching as panels along the hull retracted and slid away. Beneath the smooth, diplomatic exterior, weapon systems emerged. Missile tubes opened. Point defense turrets rose from concealed positions. Energy weapon arrays charged with a deep hum that vibrated through the ship's structure. Engineer Yunahan worked at her station, her fingers flying across holographic controls. She had designed these modifications herself, hiding humanity's military capabilities behind a peaceful facade. Every human vessel that came to Council space carried the same secrets. Weapons powerful enough to level cities, defensive systems that could withstand sustained bombardment, and engines capable of speeds that would shock the galaxy. "All systems green, Captain," Yuna reported. "We're ready for combat operations," Yuan replied. "Status on the fleet? 3 diplomatic vessels have broken orbit and are converging on Rally Point. Theta. Commander Seojin's ship is already there with the Special Forces teams. Another 12 vessels are 6 hours out." Lieutenant Daeon Lee looked up from his tactical console. "Captain, we're receiving multiple hails from Council security. They want to know why we're powering weapon systems." "Ignore them," Jawan said coldly. "Plot a course to the Bright Tomorrow's last known position. Maximum speed, aye, Captain." "Course laid in. We'll be in weapons range in 4 hours." Ensign Ji-ho Nam, the youngest officer on the bridge, had been analyzing the attack footage frame by frame. He was a quiet young man, fresh from the academy, and this was his first real crisis. His hand shook slightly as he compiled his report. "Captain, I've identified the Krell vessels. 3 heavy raiders and 7 escort ships. They're equipped with boarding pods and cargo systems designed for salvage operations." "They're not just attacking," Dr. Mina Choi said from her station near the back of the bridge. She had been studying the Krell's movement patterns. "They're harvesting. They're going to strip the Bright Tomorrow of everything valuable and then sell the survivors as slaves." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Slavery had been abolished in Council space for 2,000 years. The very concept was supposed to be ancient history. But here was evidence, broadcast live, of a Council member species engaging in the practice. "How long before the Council does anything?" Juan asked. "They're still debating jurisdiction," Mina replied, checking her datapad. "The Rothian delegate is arguing that this is a matter for the Krell government to handle internally. The Valkyrie ambassador is calling for economic sanctions. They might reach a consensus in a few days." "A few days," Guan repeated softly. Then her voice hardened. "Helm, engage engines. Take us to maximum velocity." The Harmony's call surged forward, its powerful drives pushing the ship faster than any Council vessel could match. The diplomatic spacecraft that had drifted peacefully through Council space for 15 years was now a warship heading into battle. Back in the Council chamber, the debates continued. Species argued about protocol and procedure, about jurisdiction and proper channels. And on the main holographic display, the footage from the Bright Tomorrow kept playing. Then something changed in the feed. One of the automated cameras caught movement in the distance. Ships approaching at high speed. Human ships. The Valkyrie ambassador stopped mid-sentence, staring at the display. "What is that?" The image zoomed in, enhanced by Council systems. They could see the Harmony's call leading a formation of human vessels, all of them with their weapons exposed. All of them moving with military precision. "They're not waiting for us," the Rothian delegate said, her crystalline voice ringing with something that might have been respect or might have been fear. Hyun-woo stood at the podium, watching the same feed. He had known this was coming. Earth Command had sent him the operational details an hour ago. But seeing it now, seeing his people finally showing their true strength, filled him with a mix of pride and sadness. Sadness because humanity had hoped to never need this side of themselves again. Pride because when pushed, they had not hesitated. Ambassador Kim, the chairman said carefully. Those vessels appear to be armed for military operations. You assured this council that humanity had no significant military capability. Hyunwoo turned to face the chairman. I said we came in peace. I said we sought cooperation and friendship. I never said we were defenseless. He gestured to the display showing the human fleet. Every species in this chamber has the right to defend itself. We built those ships hoping we would never need their teeth. But when our children are dying and this council debates procedures, we will use whatever tools we have. This is unauthorized military action. The Velkari ambassador protested. This violates council law. Then charge us with violations after we save our people, Hyunwoo replied. Put us on trial. Expel us from the council. Do whatever you want. But right now, while you sit here talking, humans are acting. On the display, the human fleet had reached the bright tomorrow. The Krell vessels, detecting their approach, moved to intercept. The council members watched in real time as the first shots were fired. Human missiles streaked across the void, moving faster and more accurately than anything the council had seen before. Krell's shields flared and died. Krell hulls ruptured, and then the human ships were among them. Moving with a coordination and precision that spoke of centuries of warfare, of a species that had perfected the art of killing long before they reached the stars, the chamber was silent now. No more debates. No more procedures. They simply watched as humanity went to war. Commander Si Jinquan's voice crackled over the feed, picked up by the Bright Tomorrow's systems. All Krell vessels, this is Commander Quan of the Human Defense Force. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. You have 60 seconds to comply. The Krell response came in the form of weapons fire. Seojin's voice was calm when he replied. Understood. All units, weapons free. Show them what happens when you hurt our people. The council watched, and for the first time in 3,000 years of peace, they saw what true predators looked like when someone threatened their pack. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The council members watched every second, unable to look away, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. This was not how warfare looked in their experience. When council species fought, which happened rarely, it was a slow affair of maneuvering and posturing, of long-range weapons exchanges that lasted for hours or days. Casualties were measured and acceptable. Retreat was always an option. Humans did not fight that way. Captain Juan. Park's Harmony's call moved through the Krell formation like a blade through silk. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Daeon Lee, targeted with inhuman precision. Each missile found its mark. Each energy beam struck at the weakest point in enemy shields. The Krell tried to return fire, but the human ships danced around their weapons, moving in patterns that seemed impossible for vessels of their size. Target the engines, not the reactors, Giwan ordered. I want prisoners, not debris. Aye, Captain, Daeon replied, adjusting his targeting parameters. Switching to disable mode. One by one, the Krell escort ships went dark, their engines destroyed, their weapons offline, but their crews alive. The 3 heavy raiders tried to escape, their commanders finally realizing they had made a terrible mistake. But Commander Si Jinquan's Special Forces ship, the Silent Promise, was faster. It cut off their escape route, its weapons locking onto all 3 vessels simultaneously. Last chance, Seojin transmitted. Surrender or die. Choose now. 2 of the raiders powered down. The 3rd tried to run. The Silent Promise fired once. A single missile, perfectly targeted, struck the raider's main engine block. The explosion was contained, controlled, leaving the rest of the ship intact, but completely crippled. No wasted ammunition. No unnecessary destruction. Just cold, efficient violence. In the council chamber, the Velkari ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. How are they moving like that? Those ships should not be capable of such acceleration. They're pulling 8 gravities of sustained force, the Rothian delegate said, her crystalline voice filled with disbelief. Our species would be crushed at those pressures. How are the human crews surviving? Dr. Mina Choi, still on the bridge of the Harmony's call, heard the council's questions through her communication link. She smiled grimly. Tell them, she said to Ambassador Hyun-woo, through their secure channel. Tell them what we are. In the council chamber, Hyun-woo activated his own holographic display. It showed a rotating image of human anatomy, evolutionary charts, biological data compiled over millions of years. My species evolved on a death world, he said calmly. Earth has higher gravity than 70% of council home worlds. Our atmosphere is corrosive to most species. Our predators were faster, stronger, and more deadly than almost anything in known space. He changed the image to show Earth's history. Humans hunting across vast plains. Humans tracking prey for days, without rest. Humans organizing in packs to bring down creatures 10 times their size. We are persistence hunters. We can run for hours without stopping. We can survive injuries that would kill most species. And we evolved in tribes, in packs, learning to coordinate and communicate and fight as a single unit.
Oh.
The council members stared at the images. They had known humans were from a higher gravity world, but they had not understood what that meant. They had seen humans as soft because they were emotional, because they valued art and poetry and love. They had not realized that beneath the civilization, beneath the culture and the smiles, was something ancient and dangerous. They're boarding the bright tomorrow, the Quellan chairman said, his voice barely above a whisper. On the display, human marines in combat armor moved through the colony ship's corridors. Corporal Yoon Ji-song led her squad with practiced efficiency. They moved fast and silent, their weapons ready, but their trigger discipline perfect. When they encountered Krell warriors, the fights were brief and brutal. Humans had studied every species in the council for 15 years, learning their biology, their weak points, their combat doctrine. The Krell had studied nothing. They had assumed humans were weak. Yoonji's squad cleared section after section, finding survivors huddled in sealed chambers, protecting them, moving them to secure areas. A Krell warrior twice her size charged around a corner, his weapon raised. Yoonji didn't hesitate. She dropped low, faster than the Krell's eyes could track, and swept his legs. As he fell, she was already moving past him. Her weapon pressed against the weak joint in his armor at the neck. Surrender or die, she said simply. The Krell warrior dropped his weapon. Specialist Tai Jino sat aboard the Silent Promise, his fingers dancing across holographic keyboards. He was humanity's best cyber warfare expert, and he had just cracked the Krell Syndicate's communication network. Within minutes, he had access to everything. Fleet positions, command codes, and most damning of all, recorded conversations. Commander Kwan Taijan said, "You need to hear this." Seo-Jan listened to the recordings. Krell commanders laughing about how easy it would be to raid human colonies. Krell officials discussing how weak the council had become. Plans for future attacks on other species, not just humans. The Krell had seen the council's mercy, their amnesty, their forgiveness, as weakness to be exploited. Broadcast it, Siagan ordered. Send it to every council member. Let them all hear what their mercy bought them. The recordings played in the council chamber. The delegates listened to the Krell mocking them, planning to raid their worlds next, calling them fools for trusting in peace. The Valkyrie ambassador's carapace darkened with rage. The Rothian delegates' crystalline form pulsed with angry light. Species after species realized that the threat had been growing under their noses. While they debated and trusted and hoped, Admiral Soo-Yoon Bae appeared on the main display. Transmitted from Earth's military command center, she wore her full uniform now. No more hiding behind diplomatic titles. "Members of the Galactic Council," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. "In the past 4 hours, human forces have secured the bright tomorrow and rescued 43,000 survivors. 7,000 of our people are dead, murdered by a species you granted amnesty and welcomed back into civilized space." She paused, letting that sink in. "We have captured every Krell vessel involved in this attack. We have their crews in custody. We have their communication records. And we have traced their operation back to high-ranking members of the Krell government itself." The council chamber erupted in shouting. The Krell ambassador, who had been silent throughout the session, tried to speak but was drowned out by angry voices from dozens of species. Admiral Bay continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. The Krell Syndicate command structure is currently receiving a transmission from me. I have given them 1 hour to surrender. Every individual involved in this attack, and every other act of piracy committed in the past 20 years, I have given them 1 hour to dismantle their military hierarchy and submit to council justice. And if they refuse? The Quellan chairman asked. Admiral Bay's smile was cold as the void of space. Then we will hunt them down. Every single one. We will dismantle their fleet. We will capture their leaders. And we will bring them before this council to answer for their crimes. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. We are not asking permission. We are informing you of what is going to happen. Humanity has shown you peace for 15 years. Now, you see what we are when peace fails. The transmission ended. The council sat in stunned silence. Dr. Mina Choi activated her own link to the chamber. You thought we were weak because we care about art and music, because we cry at sad stories, because we value life. Her voice was gentle but firm. You didn't understand that these things make us stronger, not weaker. We fight harder because we love harder. We are more dangerous because we know exactly what we're protecting. She brought up new data on the displays. Earth's history. Every war. Every conflict. Thousands of years of humans fighting humans before they finally learned to work together. We have studied violence for our entire existence. We perfected warfare long before we reached the stars. And when we finally achieved peace among ourselves, we hoped we would never need those skills again. The images shifted to show human children playing, human artists creating, human scientists discovering. But we did not forget. We could not forget. Because at our core, we are still the same species that hunted across Earth for millions of years. We are still predators. We have just learned to be selective about when we hunt. In the observation deck, Captain Ji-won Park stood looking out at the stars. Her uniform still pristine despite the battle. Beside her, the rescued survivors from the bright tomorrow were being transferred to medical ships. Families reunited. Children held by parents who thought they had lost them forever. We got them back, Daeon said quietly, standing beside her. Most of them, Ji-won replied. Not all. They stood in silence, watching the careful work of rescue and recovery. And in the distance, human warships patrolled the area. Their weapons still active, still ready, making sure no more threats emerged from the darkness. The Council had seen humanity's predator mode unleashed, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The Krell Syndicate's response came exactly 59 minutes after Admiral Soo-yoon Bae's ultimatum. Their high command transmitted a single word to humanity's forces: no. The council chamber had remained in continuous session, its members unable to leave, unable to stop watching as the situation unfolded. When the Krell's refusal appeared on the displays, several delegates gasped. The Valkyrie ambassador, who had spent the last hours in stunned silence, finally spoke. They must be insane. They saw what humans did to their raiders. Why would they refuse? Ambassador Hunhwa Kim, still at his podium, looked tired. He had not slept in over 24 hours. His carefully maintained diplomatic demeanor was gone, replaced by something harder, colder. Because they think their home worlds will protect them. They have fortified systems, planetary shields, defense stations. They believe humans will not risk the casualties required to take those positions. Will you? The Quellan chairman asked. Hyun-woo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You're about to find out. 3 star systems away, the human fleet began to move. Not just the handful of ships that had rescued the bright tomorrow, but vessels that had been hidden throughout council space for 15 years. Cargo ships revealed themselves as troop carriers. Science vessels opened their hulls to show fighter bays. Even civilian transports had concealed weapon systems that now powered up and locked onto coordinates provided by Earth Command. Captain Guwon Park stood on the bridge of the Harmony's call, now officially designated as a warship rather than a diplomatic vessel. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. Engineer Yoona Han had spent the past hours optimizing their weapon systems, making them even more deadly. Lieutenant Daeyun Lee studied tactical displays, plotting attack vectors against the Krell's 3 primary worlds. Fleet composition, Lieutenant? Juan asked. 47 vessels ready for immediate combat operations. Another 63 en route from Earth, estimated arrival in 48 hours. Admiral Bay is coordinating with defensive forces around human colonies to ensure our worlds remain protected during offensive operations. 47 vessels. The Council had thought humanity maintained perhaps a dozen security ships. The revelation that there were over 100 military-capable spacecraft sent shockwaves through every delegation in the chamber. Commander C. Ojin. Kwan's voice came through the communication channel. Transmitted from the Silent Promise, Captain Park, Special Forces teams are ready. We have identified 17 key targets on Krell Prime, command centers, communication hubs, and leadership compounds. We can have boots on the ground within 6 hours of orbital supremacy. Understood, Commander, Juan replied. Rules of engagement? Minimize civilian casualties. Target military and government only. All syndicate leadership is to be taken alive if possible. That last part made several council members look at each other in confusion. The Rothian delegate voiced what many were thinking. They planned to capture the Krell leaders? Why not simply destroy them? Delegate Era Shin, a young human diplomat who had been quiet throughout the crisis, finally spoke up. Because that's not who we are. Yes, we are capable of violence. Yes, we can wage war with efficiency that terrifies you. But we don't kill for revenge. We kill only when necessary, and even then, we show restraint. She activated her own display, showing human military doctrine. Every human officer is trained in something we call proportional response. You hit us, hit back harder, but we don't hit civilians. You threaten our people, we eliminate the threat, but we don't commit genocide. You murder our children, and we will hunt you across the galaxy, but we will bring you to justice rather than simply erasing you from existence. Why? The Valkyrie ambassador asked. His earlier mockery was completely gone, replaced by genuine curiosity. You have the power to destroy them. Why show mercy to those who showed you none? Because Ara replied simply, that's the difference between a predator and a monster. Predators kill to survive, to protect, to feed. Monsters kill because they enjoy it. Humans are predators, but we choose not to be monsters. The human fleet jumped into Krell's space in a coordinated assault. They arrived at 3 different star systems simultaneously, catching the Krell defenses completely unprepared. Captain Junho Yoon led the fighter squadrons, his craft diving through atmospheric barriers and targeting planetary defense installations with surgical precision. The Council watched as human fighters moved through Krell airspace like they owned it. Junho's voice came through clearly, calm and professional, even as explosions erupted around him. Gold Squadron, target the shield generators at coordinates 773. Silver Squadron, suppress those anti-air emplacements on the northern ridge. Remember, weapons tight on civilian areas. Krell Defense Tower locked onto Junho's fighter. Alarms blared in his cockpit as missiles launched toward him. He rolled his craft, released countermeasures, and dove low over a Krell city. The missiles, unable to adjust quickly enough, struck a mountain instead. Ginho came up behind the tower that had fired at him and destroyed it with 2 precise shots. The tower collapsed, falling away from the city below, its debris landing in an empty field. Nice flying, Captain. One of his wingmates transmitted.
Just doing the job, Juno replied.
Keep it clean, people. We're here for the Syndicate, not for civilians. Chief Sung Min Kong worked from a command ship in orbit, coordinating intelligence operations across all 3 Krell systems simultaneously. His team had spent years building networks of informants, satellite surveillance, and data collection systems. Now it all paid off. He knew where every Krell commander was located. He knew which officials were involved in the Syndicate and which were simply government workers doing their jobs. Team Alpha, your target is on the move. Sung Min transmitted to a Special Forces unit on the ground. He's trying to reach the spaceport. Cut him off at intersection 9. On the streets of Krell Prime, Commander Seojin Kwan's teams moved through the city like ghosts. Krell civilians watched in shock as humans in combat armor ran past them, not stopping, not threatening, simply moving with purpose toward specific targets. When Syndicate guards tried to resist, the humans overwhelmed them in seconds. No wasted movement. No excessive force. Just fast, efficient captures. One Syndicate commander tried to hide in a residential building, thinking humans would not risk civilian casualties to get him. He was wrong. Seojin's team entered the building, evacuated all the civilians calmly and professionally, and then went floor by floor until they found their target. The commander surrendered without a fight when he realized there was nowhere left to run. Package secured, Seojin reported. That's 11 high-value targets in custody. 6 more on the list. The Krell military tried to mount a defense. Their fleet engaged the human vessels in orbit. It was a mistake. The humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years before they reached space. They understood combat in a way that species raised in the Council's peace could not comprehend. Every human tactic, every maneuver, is designed not just to win, but to win with minimal friendly casualties. When a Krell battleship tried to ram a human cruiser in a desperate suicide attack, the human ship simply wasn't there anymore. It had moved before the Krell captain had even finished giving the order. And while the battleship passed through empty space, 3 human destroyers hit it from different angles, disabling its engines and weapons in a perfectly coordinated strike in the council chamber. The delegates watched in growing horror and awe, not horror at human brutality, but horror at human restraint. Every shot was calculated. Every attack was precise. Entire cities remained untouched. Civilian infrastructure was carefully avoided. The humans were waging total war against the Syndicate, while somehow managing to protect innocent Krell citizens at the same time. This should not be possible, the Rothian delegate said quietly. This level of precision, this level of coordination. How are they doing this? Dr. Mina Choi appeared on the communication link again. Because we practice. Every human ship runs combat drills every week. Every Marine trains constantly. Every officer studies warfare the way your species study art or philosophy. You spent 3,000 years in peace. We spent 100,000 years learning to hunt. The skills don't go away just because we decided to be peaceful. 72 hours after the operation began, Chief Sungmin Kong transmitted a final report. All primary targets secured. We have in custody 43 Syndicate commanders, 17 government officials who authorized or supported piracy operations, and 237 individuals directly involved in attacks on Council member species. Admiral Bay appeared on the Council's main display. Behind her, human ships patrolled Krell space, their weapons still active, but no longer firing. Members of the Galactic Council, the Krell Syndicate has been dismantled. Their military command structure is broken. Their leadership is in our custody. We are prepared to turn them over to Council justice. The Quellan chairman looked around at his fellow delegates. I move that we accept custody of the prisoners and begin immediate tribunal proceedings. Seconded, the Velkar ambassador said quickly. The vote was unanimous. 3 months passed before the Galactic Council reconvened for its historic session. The trials of the Krell Syndicate members had concluded the week before, the sentences ranging from decades to life imprisonment. The Krell government, purged of Syndicate influence, had offered formal apologies to humanity and to the 17 other species that had suffered from their piracy. But everyone knew that the real business of this session was not about the Krell, it was about humanity. The council chamber looked the same as it had during that fateful emergency session. But everything felt different now. The delegates sat in their seats with a new awareness, a new caution. When Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim entered the chamber, species that had barely acknowledged him before now watched his every movement, some with respect, some with fear. Most with both. Captain Juan Park watched from the observation deck again, but this time she wore her full military uniform rather than diplomatic whites. Beside her stood Admiral Su Yunbei, who had come from Earth specifically for this session. Dr. Mina Choi was there too, along with Commander Seojin Kwan, still carrying the quiet confidence of a warrior who had proven himself in battle, the Quellan. Chairman called the session to order. We are here to address Resolution 779, the reclassification of humanity within the Galactic Council hierarchy and the establishment of new defense protocols. He looked directly at Hyun-woo. Ambassador Kim, the Council recognizes you. Hyun-woo stood at the central podium. 3 months ago, he had stood here presenting cultural exchange programs while his people were dying. Today was different. Honored delegates, humanity did not seek conflict. We did not reveal our capabilities by choice. We were forced to act because the systems we trusted to protect us failed. He spoke calmly, without accusation, but the words still stung. However, now that you have seen what we are capable of, it is time for honest conversation about humanity's role in this council. He activated the display, showing new data. Earth Command has completed a full inventory of our military assets at the Council's request. We currently maintain 167 warships of various classes, 412 fighter craft, and 200,000 trained military personnel. We have defensive installations around all our colony worlds and early warning systems throughout our territory. The numbers were staggering. The Valkyrie ambassador's mandibles clicked in disbelief. You had all of this while claiming to be a peaceful species? We are a peaceful species, Hyun-woo replied. But peace and defenselessness are not the same thing. Every species in this chamber maintains security forces. We simply built ours to different standards, because our history taught us different lessons. The Rothian delegate's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. Your request for Tier 1 civilization status has been reviewed. The military capabilities you displayed clearly exceed current Tier 1 requirements. However, there is concern about granting such status to a species that has proven so adept at warfare. Then let me address that concern directly, Admiral Bay said, standing to address the Council. Humanity's military doctrine is purely defensive. We do not seek conquest. We do not desire territory. Every action we took against the Krell Syndicate was in service of justice and protection, not expansion or revenge. She gestured to the display, which now showed footage of human forces carefully avoiding civilian casualties during the Krell operation. We could have destroyed their worlds. We could have killed millions. Instead, we captured criminals and protected innocents. That is who we are. But what if that changes? A delegate from the Malor Collective asked, what if humanity decides to use that military power for less noble purposes? It was Delegate Arashin who answered, then you stop us. That's the entire point of the Council, isn't it? To provide checks and balances, to ensure that no single species becomes a threat to all others. She looked around the chamber. We're not asking for special treatment or immunity from oversight. We're asking for recognition of what we already are, and we're offering our capabilities in service of Council security. The Quellan chairman considered this. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? Hyun-woo took a breath. Humanity proposes the formation of the Council Guardian Fleet, a rapid response force designed to address situations like the Krell attack, when diplomatic solutions fail, when innocent lives are at stake, when action must be taken immediately, rather than in 6 to 8 weeks. He paused. We volunteered to serve as the core of this force, under Council authority and oversight. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates saw the value immediately. Others worried about giving humans too much authority. The debate went on for hours, but slowly, a consensus began to form. Captain Juwon Park was promoted to admiral during the session. Accepting command of the new Guardian Fleet, she stood before the Council and took an oath. To serve all member species equally, to protect the innocent regardless of their world of origin, and to operate within the boundaries of Council law and oversight. The Guardian Fleet will not operate independently, Juwon explained. Every major deployment requires Council authorization. Every operation will be monitored. We will file reports. We will submit to investigations. We will be transparent about our actions and capabilities. She looked at the delegates with understanding. We know you're afraid of us now. We know what we showed you was shocking. But we would rather you fear. Our power and trust, our control than believe. We are weak and discover your mistake when it's too late to save your people. Commander Seojin Kwan was? Appointed as the head of a new council training program. He would teach other species security forces, human military tactics, not to make them as dangerous as humans, but to help them defend themselves more effectively. We learn these skills through pain and blood, Seojin said during his introduction. Let us share what we know, so that you don't have to learn the same hard way. Dr. Mina Choi's research on human evolutionary biology became required reading for all council xenobiologists. Her paper, titled Understanding Predator Species: Why Humanity's Evolution Makes Them Ideal Peacekeepers, argued that humans' very nature as persistence hunters and pack predators made them uniquely suited for protective roles. We evolved to track, to coordinate, to outlast any prey, she wrote. But we also evolved to protect our pack, to nurture our young, to sacrifice for our tribe. These instincts don't contradict each other. They complement each other. We are dangerous to threats and gentle with those we protect. Smaller species began requesting human protection packs. The Kelvin Confederation, whose worlds were exposed to pirate raids, was the first to formally ask for Guardian fleet patrols in their space. Within weeks, 6 more species made similar requests. Humanity accepted, but always with conditions: council oversight, transparent operations, respect for local sovereignty. Engineer Yunahan found herself teaching at the council's military academy, showing other species how to integrate defensive systems into civilian vessels. The goal is not to turn every ship into a warship, she explained to her students. The goal is to ensure that no one is completely helpless when danger comes. 6 months after the Krell incident, the Council received intelligence about a new threat. A hostile force from beyond known space was probing Council borders, testing defenses, attacking remote outposts. The nature of the threat was unclear, but the danger was real. The Council's first action was to call humanity. Admiral Juan Park received the request while conducting training exercises with her fleet. She read the report, studied the limited data available, and then contacted Earth Command. Admiral Bay, we have a situation. I've seen the briefing, Bay replied. The Council is requesting Guardian fleet deployment to investigate and respond. Orders, ma'am. Same as always, Admiral. Protect the innocent. Minimize casualties. Bring everyone home safe, Bay paused. And Juan, make sure the Council understands what they're seeing. We're not conquerors. We're not monsters. We're the people who stand between the darkness and those who cannot defend themselves. Understood, ma'am. Guardian fleet is moving out. In the Council chamber, Ambassador Hyun-Woo Kim addressed the delegates one last time before the fleet departed. When we came to space, we hoped we had left warfare behind. We hoped we would never need to be what we once were. But the galaxy is not as peaceful as we wished it to be. He looked at the faces of 47 different species. Species that had become colleagues, partners, and even friends over the past 15 years. So we will be your sword and your shield. We will be the hunters who track down those who threaten peace. We will be the protectors who stand watch while you sleep. He gestured to the display showing the Guardian fleet preparing to jump to the threatened sectors. You saw what happens when you hurt our people. Now you're about to see what happens when you hurt anyone under our protection. We don't just defend humanity anymore. We defend the Council. We defend peace. And we never stop until the job is done. The fleet jumped, disappearing into the void between stars. The Council members watched them go in silence, and then the Velkari ambassador spoke quietly. I mocked them. When they first arrived, I called them soft and weak. We all did, the Rothian delegate replied. We all failed to see the truth.